What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome into, we can finally say it, a Seattle Mariners post game recap. Spring training has officially kicked off, which means baseball is officially back. I hope you are all doing well, excited for this baseball season, and thank you for tuning in to watch the first post game recap of many. Before I go any further, as always, do me the favor, hit that like button. It really does help the channel out, gets the video out to more people. Comment your thoughts on the game or on the team down below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new. I would like to, my goal for this year is to get to 5,000 subscribers. So if you guys could help me, I'm about 700, so give or take, away from that goal. So if you guys could help me out with that and you're new here, please hit that subscribe button. And baseball is back from today until mid to late October. I don't know all the World Series dates, haven't experienced many of them, but there will be a baseball game every day, whether it's the Mariners or somebody else. You will not have a day without baseball. I'm sure my wife is cringing in the background hearing that, but I know she's excited. She's happy. And as Mariner fans, we may cringe at that at times as well, with the Mariners frustrating us at times. Listen, like this offseason, right? It's hard to give this offseason a grade other than F. Really can't do it. But I am excited for baseball. I do think that despite a poor offseason, this team could find success this year. I do think they're going to be in the running in the AL West. I do think they'll compete. Will they get in? I don't know. I think they have a chance. Truthfully, in the American League, outside of the Chicago White Sox, I think every team has some chance to compete for a playoff spot. Some certainly, more balanced, better rosters than others. But I think the Mariners are in the mix. I really do with their rotation. The bullpen, if Santos and Brash are back and ready to rock and roll, and hopefully an offense that can find some consistency. Again, none of that is to excuse what I think was a poor offseason that really could have put them over the top had they made some signings or made some more shrewd, savvy trades. They didn't. They're going to be relying on a lot of guys to hopefully bounce back, and hopefully they do. And then some will, some won't. It's the nature of sports. But I am excited for baseball, and I do think this team can compete. I'm not going to come on here and start telling you guys to buy playoff tickets or AL West championship t-shirts, but I do think they'll be in the mix, despite the struggles this offseason. It's just frustrating because I think they really could have put themselves in positions to maybe be the favorites instead of just in the mix. So we'll see what this season holds. Spring training, listen, the Mariners lose today 5-2 to the Padres, by the way. They collect 2 hits. They don't get their first hit until the 6th inning. So truly just throwing us right back into baseball, as only us Mariner fans can know. Almost getting no hit in the first spring training game is very on brand for our boys. So good to see they're not mixing it up or anything for us. But all joking aside, don't put a lot of stock into spring training results. That's all I can say. I would not care one iota if they win or lose, how many games. If you're keeping track of that and care about their spring record, more power to you if you want to do that, but it does not matter. The results truthfully don't matter, especially for the veterans. I mean, last spring training, Mitch Haniger, Jorge Polanco all had OPSs north of 1,000 in spring training. Dom Canzone did as well. Luke Raley had a pretty poor spring. Luke Raley was the best hitter of the bunch. Haniger and Polanco were not very good hitters last year. Maybe at moments they were, but overall were not. Of course, they're both still on the roster. Thank goodness. But no, it just, especially for the veterans, the results just don't matter that much. It's not that they don't want to get off on the right foot or you don't want to see some progress, but players may be working on things. Pitchers might be working on a new pitch they want to try out or a new delivery, and especially guys that know they're on this roster. It really doesn't matter a whole lot. If Logan Gilbert's ERA is 11 in spring, I do not care. If Julio's OPS is 100, I do not care. If Cal strikes out in every at-bat, I don't care. Maybe I'm going a little too far there. You do want to see some stuff, but for the most part, it doesn't really matter. Remember in 2006 or 7, Ichiro had like 1 hit all spring, and there was like people legitimately freaking out about it. I'm like, it's Ichiro. He's going to be Ichiro. He hasn't changed. The players that are good are going to continue to be good. Hopefully guys like Julio can take, step forward in the consistency and stuff like that. But, good players are good. The players that aren't going to be very, very good. I guess you could say like maybe for a Mitch Haniger, the results matter a little bit because you'd love to be able to find someone to take him on in his contract. But I highly doubt teams are sitting around going, oh man, Mitch Haniger had a great spring. We got to get his bat in the lineup now. It's just going to be as a team like Miami willing to take on that contract, along with maybe a somewhat decent prospect in order to, to facilitate that trade. They're not going to give two whats if Haniger had a good spring or not. So now there are guys that do matter, right? Cole Young is someone that we'd probably like to see some results for in spring. As much as I say results don't matter, there are some players that you'd like to see some stuff from. It doesn't have to be results in terms of like numbers, but is he hitting the ball hard? Or is he having good plate appearances? Is he, laying off balls and taking good swings and strikes, stuff like that. So results probably matter more for a player like that. Cole Young was 0 for 2 today, but he's someone that I don't, my gut would be he's not on the opening day roster, but with a big spring, maybe there's a chance he is your second baseman. So, those are guys that, yeah, we do want to pay a little bit of attention to Cole Young's results, but again, not so much the numbers, but the process is probably more important than the actual numbers. If Cole Young is stinging the ball, average exit velos over 100, he's drawing walks, playing good defense, and the hits just aren't falling, that's okay, right? That happens. You just want to see the process is good because that'll eventually lead to good results. So Cole Young is probably someone to keep an eye on. The rest are all, and some of the bullpen guys, we'll get into it a little bit here too, that, fighting for kind of roster spots on the back end. Before I dive into the game, again, apologize, 7 minutes in, haven't even talked about the game yet. Do you really care all that much about the game itself? Probably not. The Mariners did sign Rowdy Tellez to a minor league deal. Tellez left-handed hitting DH first baseman, fine as roster, depth essentially. He had some good streaks. He had some, stretches where he's a very competent hitter. Left-handed hitters obviously fare better in T-Mobile. So I think he could have some success here, especially in like a pinch hitter type role. I'll be honest, I'd rather have Rowdy Tellez on the roster than Mitch Haniger, to be perfectly honest. At least there, I think you get a little bit of like Tellez could pinch hit. And like I said, as a left-handed hitter in T-Mobile, I think the team needs another left-handed hitter on the roster. Not that I'm pining for Rowdy Tellez here or anything, but we'll see if he even makes it. It was a minor league deal. So like I said, I'd probably prefer him on the roster over to a Mitch Haniger, though, just as a bench bat, if anything else. But we'll see what Tellez does. I don't have his numbers in front of me. Pretty underwhelming. I think he's pretty much been in that under 100 WRC plus for a while now. Like I said, decent pop. He can hit one out. And he can go on streaks where he is a pretty decent hitter. Maybe someone like, if Rayleigh's hurt at first or Solano gets hurt, he can sub in for a couple weeks and you're not going to kill the team, essentially. So we'll see. He'll probably get some at-bats in spring. He could be cut in spring training for all we know as well. So let's get into the game a little bit. Like I said, took the Mariners to the 6th inning to get their first hit. So good to see the brand is on point. Jonathan Diaz got the start for the Mariners, 2 innings, 3 runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Jonathan Diaz is the definition of, a body, a 4A type pitcher that, in a pinch can come up, and started a couple games last year, pitched that game against the White Sox and found a way to wiggle through 5 innings. Again, I talk about these guys all the time. It's Tommy Malone, Jonathan Diaz, guys like that. They're just, I could care less if they walk 13 and strike out none. Whereas like a George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, I do care. I want to see like I said, the process to the results. Jonathan Diaz, I could care less if he comes up and makes a spot start, goes 4 innings, 1 run, give up 8 hits, 3 walks, no Ks. I could not care less if that's ugly. The results are all that matter with someone like that. It's a depth organizational piece, and that's enough on Jonathan Diaz. And, he's probably not going to make the team. He'll probably stick in Tacoma as a starter and come up as needed. A couple names to keep an eye on, though, would be Will Klein, former Royal in Oakland A. He was, I think in the top 30 for Royals prospects last year in their own organization, not major league wide. Can throw hard, was touching, looks like from what I saw, going back, watch the game a little bit, touched 97 a little bit today. He was also included in the trade that sent Lucas Urseg to the Royals. He went back to the A's. A guy to watch for. Every year the Mariners bring some guys into camp. Colin Snyder, Justin Topa, Paul Sewald, guys that kind of come up maybe in April or May. We know how bullpens are. They can be volatile. Guys that had great years can come out struggle. We saw guys like Penn Murphy and Matt Festa struggle after good years. Maybe Colin Snyder struggles or something this year. Will Klein is someone to keep an eye on. He's got pretty good stuff. Has to harness it a little bit. Mariners have a pretty good track record with guys like that. So maybe Klein is somebody that I would just keep an eye on for maybe the back end of the bullpen coming out of spring. Especially if Brash isn't ready to go yet. Sounds like it might be closer to late April for Brash. I know Troy Taylor was dealing with a lat injury. I didn't pull it up, but so Klein is someone to keep an eye on. Let's see, for his today for Will Klein, 1 inning, 1 hit, 1 run. It wasn't earned, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. So again, just someone to keep an eye on for that back end of the bullpen. Drew Pomerantz went 1 inning, gave up 2 hits and a strikeout. Pomerantz again, Jonathan Diaz, Tommy Malone, but you do need rotational depth. I don't expect these guys to be aces, but for seventh, eighth starters, guys have to come up, make 2 or 3 spot starts a year. Be nice to just see something out of them a little bit. So Pomerantz does have a shutout inning again. Could be someone that, and listen, as a lefty, you can always kind of use a lefty out of the bullpen. I think it's been a little devalued now that you have to face 3 hitters minimum. God are the days of the, Mike Myers, the submarine lefties coming in to face Barry Bonds once and then getting pulled. But always good to have a few lefties for organizational depth. Austin Kitchen is another guy, left-handed pitcher. Had a little cup of coffee with the Marlins last year. He threw a shutout inning. I don't know much about him. I know some people, I've seen some good write-ups on him, people that do like him a little bit. So could be a name to keep an eye on as well. Just throughout the year, right? I'm not trying to, sell you guys on Will Klein, Austin Kitchen being studs for this team, but just some guys that could end up making an impact for the Seattle Mariners this year. So Mariners do allow 5 runs to give up a home run to Manny Machado today. Who Machado hit the home run off of? He hit it off of Diaz in the first inning. Offensively, not much to speak about. Samad Taylor hits the first Mariners home run of the season of spring. Taylor kind of a spring training star last year. Again, organizational depth piece that can come up and help out when needed. If some guys get hurt. Actually, a lot of regulars played. J.P. Crawford started. Julio started today. Cal was in there. Randy Rosarena was in there. Mitch Garver was DHing. Tyler Locklear was at first base today. Austin Shenton got the start at third base. He did work a walk. Ryan Bliss got 2 at-bats, was 0 for 2. Michael Arroyo got an at-bat today. His spring debut. Ben Williamson had an at-bat, someone to watch for at third base. I know the power is something I think some people are worried about, but I believe fantastic glove. It could be someone that you never know, could knock on the door this year for the Seattle Mariners. Cole Young, as I talked about, pinched hit for Mitch Garver. He was 0 for 2. Cole Young's probably the player I have my eye on the most this spring. It's probably one of the few, the bullpen's always a battle at the back end, but maybe the only positional player battle that is somewhat in the air. Colt Emerson got an at-bat today. He got 2 at-bats, was 0 for 2. Again, not much to talk about. 2 hits. Blake Hunt got the very, very first hit. We talk about Samad Taylor getting the first home run. The first hit belonged to Blake Hunt. J.P. Crawford did have a sac fly in the first or the second inning, I believe. And then, the other hit was the Samad Taylor home run. So not much to talk about offense. I was a little surprised that many starters did get in the game. So, listen, I'm not going to get worried about spring. I've been watching baseball for too long to get worked up, or sports in general, about preseason or spring training. It's fun that it's back, but I'm just, this to me is not a sign that the Mariners offense is going to be bad. Last season would be a better sign than one spring training game for sure. And so I would just take those kind of pieces of advice for spring training. Wouldn't worry too much about the results. You want to look for other things like Gabe Spire. Is he back to touching 94, 95? Last year at the end, he was getting some okay results in September, but he was still kind of sitting 91 to 92. Want to see if he's got that velocity back. If it doesn't lead to great results, so be it. But is he back to, where he was in 2023? Because that'd be a huge piece for that bullpen and everything like that. So it's really looking at that kind of stuff. Like I said, Cole Young, it's not so much that he went 0 for 2. I'll be honest, didn't see his 2 at-bats, but was the process good? Was he making good contact? Was he staying alive, fouling off tough pitches? Was he spitting on pitches that were good pitches but were out of the zone? All that type of stuff. So, we'll see. I know so far Dan Wilson's been really preaching the importance of every game. I know that was something that I think people thought last year was Scott, constantly in the press conference saying, hey, it's one game, we'll get back to it. And baseball's tough, right? Because it's 162. Every team wins 60. Every team loses 60. It's what you do with the 42 other games. That's something, my dad used to always say as well. Like, every team's going to win 60, every team's going to lose 60. So you do have to understand that sometimes you are going to lose baseball games. Like football, obviously every team usually loses a game as well, but the great teams lose 2 or 3 in a season. And baseball, even if the Mariners are lights out, they're probably going to lose 60 to 65 games. And that would be a fantastic season. So you have to balance it. I don't think Scott was necessarily wrong when he was saying, like, hey, we just got to get out there tomorrow. It's going to turn around, because you do need to sometimes have that mindset. You are going to have a losing streak at some point. But, every game can matter, right? The game in April that you lose could cost you a playoff spot in September. They all count as one. I mean, the Mariners almost, made the playoffs last year, getting that 10-game lead. If they could have held on to that, wouldn't have mattered. They played 500, whatever the rest of the way. They were able to build that lead up. Not the best example because they blew that lead, but you guys know what I'm getting at, right? Like, you can win divisions in the early months. You can get a big enough lead and play 500 ball the rest of the way. You might be able to get into the playoffs. So every game is worth one. Doesn't mean you're not going to drop some, but they all are worth one. So they need to be, even if opening day is something that's more of a celebration, hey, that game matters. It counts. So Mariners 0-1 so far in spring. Hopefully I'll be at some games this spring. The missus and I are hoping to get to a game here in the next couple of weeks. If you're going to be there, come by, say hi. I'll put out a note when I'm going to the game. So if you guys are going to be there, stop by, say hi, and always down to talk some ball. So enjoy it. Baseball's back. Great time of year. Like I said, it's crazy. We will not have a day without baseball now until October. So get ready to dive in. I will not be doing a post-game recap for every spring game. I couldn't do it. It's tough to do 162, let alone every spring game. So enjoy baseball being back, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. And as always, go Mariners. Peace.